Right now, we are facing a serious cultural crisis because there is such a lack of affordable space. It's just not viable to be an artist in the city.
It's just getting more and more challenging for artists to find spaces that are not only affordable, but that are physically accessible, that are clean, that are well maintained. As costs for these spaces go up, funding for artists isn't going up in the same way.
There's nothing that's left with a nominal rent rate. There's nothing that is clearly designated to nourish a community of artists and arts workers.
What if we took all the empty spaces that existed in a city and turned them into temporary rehearsal halls? And what if that could be free for artists? The Space Project is the way to look at how arts can actually be at the center of a conversation with property developers, the city, municipal government. If we can build healthy, trust-based relationships where there's a mutual benefit, how could that address the income precarity in the arts community? And how could that really change the cities that we live in? There actually exists a lease called the Meanwhile lease, and it's an existing lease with the city that helps developers occupy a space when it's in the in-between state.
For a property owner working with us or any arts organization on a Meanwhile space lease with creatives or an artist, what's in it for them is that they are able to activate their space and create some vibrancy. How that pulses into the local creative economies of our cities is incredibly important.
Artists, in so many instances, they make neighborhoods attractive. They bring people to a city because it makes a city more exciting, more alive, more relevant. The increase in value that they literally bring to property, well, let's return that and say, we value your art, we value your time and stories, and we want to support you. So one of the things I'm excited about this pilot is that we're working with partners all across Canada. And so it's allowing us to explore the same idea, but in different contexts.
Yeah, brothers. How's it going? Sometimes with artists, we only see the end result. We don't see the steps that it took for that piece of music to be performed live on stage, or if it's a piece of art, what it takes for that piece of art to go from that brush onto that canvas. Artists need space to feel safe and free to be themselves. Having a space that's subsidized and supported through the Space Project allows me to offer that same freedom and privilege to others as well.
Part of making a space is really thinking about care, centering and bringing in the principles of the healing arts and integrating that into programming and integrating that into spaces is integral. People are so excited that there's a queer space that they can go to and just not have to deal with the hostility of what it means to walk into spaces as a queer, racialized, or trans person.
There's really such a commitment to institutional models that are failing.
I think a lot of it is really looking at these principles of property and control and power and intentionally changing them.
We have to make sure that artists have spaces to work and those communities are nourished. We have to fight for that now.
We're hoping our Meanwhile Space Project actually can incentivize some change on a policy level with funders supporting cultural spaces.
We're sitting here in a building that has been empty for 4 years. It's a beautiful building, and it's just waiting for someone to buy it and demolish it. What can you do with this empty space?
You could have 3 different projects working in this space at the same time. That's 50 to 100 different projects that are able to take advantage of a space in a year.
That's it. When do we start?
There's actually a ton of money for space out there. It's a long-term investment in the renewal of the ecology.
We wholeheartedly believe that the work we do is about making the world a better place. The stories that we tell shape the values that we have as a culture, as a society. And so the big dream is, if artists could have access to free space, how many new stories could be told? How many new artists would have access to being able to tell their stories on stages across the country?